This is Learning to Dad
I'm the cool dad. That's my thing.
with Tyler Ross.
What I do have are a very particular set of skills.
I'm gonna have fun, and you're gonna have fun.
Hey, Tyler Ross here. Thanks for taking the time to click in and listen to Chris Campbell Part 2. We had such a great long conversation that we had to cut it into 2 parts. I hope you enjoyed the first part. If you haven't heard it, definitely check it out. The second half of the interview is great. I learned so much from Chris, and I hope you guys do as well. So without further ado, please enjoy Part 2 of Chris Campbell. I want to get into one more story from you, and then I want to get into some short answers.
Yeah.
But I'd love for people to hear the story about how you were injured on the job.
Mm-hmm.
It's not every day that people get to hear a description of what it's like to be shot.
Yeah. Well, which time I actually got hurt twice. A lot of people don't know about the first one. So
tell me about the first
one. I've gone through some adverse times in here, and that only played into the more of the doubt that I had about my dream. But you just can't give up. You can't. So, the first time I got hurt, I was, I think, 9-10 weeks into an 18-week academy. So I was over halfway done, right? Yeah. And if you know anything about going through the academy, the first 6-7 weeks are all classroom. You're at PowerPoint, constitutional law, search and seizure, criminal investigations, basic, all that stuff. Very monotonous. So boring. And we finally get to the fun stuff, and then it was like day 2, someone tackled me, blindsided me, and I felt a pop in my shoulder. My arm went numb, went to the hospital, did an MRI. They said, okay, you blew your labrum out.
Wow.
So surgery a couple weeks later. Didn't get to move my arm for a few months. Was able to make it back to the academy. Finished up strong as a class leader doing that. So that was great. Hit the road. Everything was clicking. I mean, things were going great. I was helping out with all the community stuff. Then June 13th, we were at a federal facility. I don't know that I can say the name of it. I won't say it. But we were at a federal facility doing some training with our patrol rifles, the Colt M4, which most people know as an AR-15 style a rifle. Yeah. Very powerful weapon. And we were doing some close quarter stuff, and without going into too much detail, a round from another officer hit a pole that was on the range, and it came back towards me. And to my left was Officer Eggers, who took some metal fragments to the face. Wow. And then I remember in that moment, I'm sitting there and I'm staring down the scope of my gun, and I'm looking down and I'm about to fire, and then I felt like someone just hit me in the chest with a sledgehammer.
Really?
I mean, it was just blunt force, hard, blunt force.
Not what I would have imagined.
You think you're getting shot. If you think you're getting shot, you think it's going to burn. You think it's going to sharp, hot, stinging maybe.
Or like not notice until 30 seconds after you've been shot.
It was
or something.
blunt trauma, and it felt like something hit my entire left side with like a sledgehammer.
Yeah, and this was a fragment. A large fragment.
So basically what happened was it missed my vest. Yeah. I was wearing a bulletproof vest. It missed my vest, went into the arm opening area, and hit me right in the rib. I didn't feel, it's like at first you were just kind of confused. I was like, what the heck was that? And I look over at Eggers, and he's got blood running down his face. And so we all kind of like started to tend to him. It's like, what's going on? And then I'm like, man, I just feel uncomfortable. So I put my thumbs in my vest like all cops do for a second and adjust it. And then I pulled my thumb out, and my left thumb, I look at it, and my arm is just drenched in blood. Yeah. And at that point, I tried to take a breath and realize that, like, oh, my goodness, my left lung isn't inflating, is what it felt like. Yeah. I could tell. I was like, wow. It feels like it's crushing. Something is crushing my lung right now. Wow. And I didn't know what was happening. And so I started to, I wait for everyone, open my vest, go to take it off, and all the officers on scene, you could just see it in their eyes. They were just like, oh, no, because I was wearing a white T-shirt, and it was blood soaked from basically the top of my pectoral muscle all the way down to my lower left oblique.
Yeah.
Just blood just pouring. So I started to go in shock almost immediately. And
It's like after seeing it.
yeah. After seeing it, I looked down, and then it's just like I start to realize. And then I remember my training coordinator saying, "Remain calm. You've been shot."
Yeah.
And then Eggers, thank God for him. I mean, he was there. He was a former medic.
Okay.
And so he looked me in the eyes like, "I got you. We're gonna take care of this. Just breathe." Control your breathing, So they walk me over to the staging area. They get my shirt off. They take compressions. They put it on my chest, and they.
How big is this wound?
I tell you, I didn't even want to look at it.
Yeah.
At the time, I don't think it was any more than maybe the half size of a dime. It wasn't very big.
Yeah. But it went in, didn't go out.
Yeah, and that was the thing. It was like everything started to bruise almost immediately. It was all black and blue, and then of course it was just blood. So they patched that. Remember, I'm not breathing. Like it doesn't feel like I'm breathing normally, and I'm going into shock.
Yeah.
So they roll me over. They're looking for an exit wound. They're like, okay, we don't see an exit wound. And I just remember saying, I'm like, is that thing in me? Is this really happening? Like, is this in me?
Yeah.
And they're like, stay calm, trying to keep me calm. And basically what happened, was that the round itself ricocheted off and came back, and then I took the round into the side of the chest. So they said they radio for EMS. EMS showed up. I think it was like 6 minutes. It was fast.
Are you remembering this?
Yeah, I'm remembering this.
Recounting.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep. So I remember all this. And then they get there. They check me out. The first EMS tech, I remember he walked up. He looked. He's like, okay, let me take a look at it. He's like, lift your arm up. And then he pulls the bandage away and he closes it back up and he puts it. And then he gets on the radio. And I remember he's saying, start air care now.
Yeah.
And when I heard that, I was like, oh no, I'm in trouble.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, this is bad.
Air care is helicopter.
Like get the chopper rolling. Like let's go. So then they put me on backboard, strapped me down. I was told later that they hit me with a fentanyl drip, I guess, to help with the pain.
Okay.
And from that point, basically when they put me on the backboard to the arriving in Fairfax, the OR unit there, I was in and out of consciousness.
Yeah.
Maybe 4 or 5
you
times.
Got like memories of opening your eyes and being in a helicopter.
Right. And I think that was probably more damaging than the actual round itself. And I'll tell you why. I remember being in the chopper, and the first time I lost consciousness, what really made it hard was I couldn't breathe. I was in a ton of pain. There was uncertainty of all we knew was that there was a bullet in me.
Yeah.
And I couldn't breathe.
Yeah.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And I felt like I was losing consciousness. And so for me, you automatically think worst case scenario. And it's just like, okay, I'm dying.
Yeah.
Like I'm dying. And I'm losing consciousness. This is it.
Yeah. One
and
of
so
these times I lose consciousness.
Yeah.
And
the first time I didn't know that I was going to wake up. I thought that was,
wow.
I was like, oh my God. So this is actually happening. So you start thinking about things that you don't normally think about. Like I thought about my childhood, and then I started thinking about, okay, my life insurance policy is in place. Okay, my beneficiaries are in place for all of my accounts. Okay, I know that the police department has all my paperwork for me for all of my, if I pass away, this is how things are going to be done. This is who I want to do what. They've got all that. So I'm like, okay. So you start running this checklist in your mind.
Wow.
That you never think to go through.
Yeah.
But all of us officers probably do go through it. And I'm sitting there thinking about it, and then I lost consciousness, and then like I remember waking up again and like still being in pain and screaming in the helicopter, and then it was just like, so this repeated itself 4 or 5 times. At the end of the day, we get to the OR, they find out what happened in there. They're like, okay, you're going to be okay. They leave the round in my chest. It's still in there to this day.
Yeah.
Everything healed up, and I'm good. I stayed a couple of days at Fairfax, went through a bunch of rehab, took about 5 months off, or I guess 4 months off from working in the police department, and then got right back into it, and things are going great. I will tell you the reason why that was probably more damaging than the actual round itself, and this is why I'm such a big believer in counseling, mental health, and taking care of your mental health. I'm a crisis intervention instructor with the police department. I take mental health very seriously. I go to counselors myself. I have my own mentors that I work with regularly. Mental health it's such an important thing. I went to counseling. I went and saw a psychotherapist after all that to help with PTSD, to help with, just anxiety. There were things that, like, I could, if I heard a helicopter, it put me right back in that sinking feeling that I was dying.
Wow.
If I drive by Clark Brothers every day on the way home.
Yeah.
Because I live in Bealton and, it's right there. I remember sitting in traffic in front of Clark Brothers and hearing gunshots, and you're just like, you hear it and you're just like, you shake a little bit, after this is happening. And it's like, that was such a tough thing to overcome because you still want to continue to love your family and to be there and be that strong person for them, but you're not. As a dad, I think we feel like we can't be vulnerable and we can't let people help us. And that was probably the biggest thing that I learned through my therapy sessions was that it is okay as a man, as a father, as the head of the household to realize that you can't do it all, you know, and that you need to lean on your wife and that you need to lean on your friends and that you need to lean on those that love you and care for you. And so I did that. And it took me months to figure it out. But, I did that. I leaned on the guys at PD that would come over and hang out with me. And I eventually got over it, and I've been to that exact range. Since it was a little bit weird at first being there, but got through it. Shot really, really well. The time I was up there for our last qual, and I can't say enough about the job that Lieutenant Carter, acting chief of police, has been doing with me, and same with Lieutenant Camera and Lieutenant Mellon. They really took care of me throughout that whole ordeal. Sergeant Moran, same thing. So I'm very thankful, man. It was a terrible thing, but man, I've been able to use it to touch other people and to reach out and to talk about, to further the importance of mental health and counseling, because I use that. I'm on scene and people will be like, well, I don't want to do counseling. I see that as, they see it as weird, or, I just never want to open up. I'm like, dude, look at me. I'm a cop that likes to lift weight and likes to talk back. And I'm a type A. I'm a type A personality. I got tats, dude. I'm telling you, the best thing that I ever did was to get vulnerable. And to allow people to counsel you and to seek mental health. And I'm telling you, you do that, it'll only allow you to be a better dad. It'll only allow you to be a better husband. And it's not perfect. I still struggle with it every day, but it's been the best thing ever.
Do you think that going through that experience created were you vulnerable prior to that experience?
Yeah, but probably not the level that I am now. I'm certainly more empathetic now. Coming back from how I handled scenes back before that was maybe more stern. And don't get me wrong. I mean, if someone wants to get stern with me, I know how to give it right back, and I'm not afraid to do that. But now it's like I think I recognize a little bit quicker now when someone's maybe struggling from an emotional component. It's helped me really bridge that gap. It's really helped me figure out how to effectively communicate with those people, and that's been great. If we have a suicidal subject, I love being the guy to get in there and sit down and talk to them and figure it out and get them to go to the hospital. And hey, look, I'm going to be here right with you. I'll take you myself. All that. I love it. That's my thing. And I think going through that whole situation, it's only furthered my want to be that kind of officer, to be that kind of dad, to be that kind of husband, and be that kind of friend. So it's been working out really good.
That's amazing.
I just hope one day I get big and strong like you.
Still working my deadlift up to yours.
So how many, you did what, 3,000 pull-ups in a minute or something like that?
Something like that. It was close.
That was amazing, man.
Oh, thanks, man. That was a lot of fun. We raised some good money.
How many pull-ups did you do?
It was 353 in an hour.
Oh, my gosh.
So it was fun. It was
crazy.
More than anybody guessed. So that's more than I guessed. So when you got a little audience and thinking about everyone that you do represents, it was $24.50, I think, per pull-up. So it's like if I do one more, that's $25 more going to the Boys and Girls Club. So it was a lot of fun.
Were you sore?
Not as bad as you would have thought.
kidding.
Yeah, I had a hard time with my grip for
Yeah.
24 hours, but
Muscular endurance must
Yeah.
be pretty good.
yeah, it was all right, man. It was great. But no, thanks for sharing that story.
Yeah.
It
A
just-
lot of people ask about it and how it happened, and I don't blame anyone. It's just a freak accident, and you can go to a range 100 times and that's not going to happen. I don't, but even still, nothing's perfect. We as a department adjusted some of the way we did things and made it even more safe than it was before.
Yeah.
Because we were very safe before.
I'm sure you got to adjust to
Yeah,
that.
but I mean,
You move the pole 6
yeah,
feet.
I mean, and that's the thing. I mean, we made some adjustments there, and things have been really great. I don't think anyone's nervous about. At least I'm not. I'm not nervous about going. I'd go back to the range with those guys any day of the week. I trust everyone over there. So.
I think I'm going to call it a near-death experience.
Oh yeah.
So
it was.
I think anyone that has an experience like that, there probably aren't a ton of people that
Yeah.
as close as you.
Yeah.
So has that introduced more people in your life
Oh,
that
yeah.
wow, that's your experience. Here's what mine was. Do you find a lot of near-death experience?
Oh yeah. It seems to. You seem to be a magnet for it anymore.
Yeah. So a
You
theme that you all share. Is there a
Yeah.
something that's consistent across everybody's experience?
Every single person that I've talked, and some of them have been cops. We the Capitol Police Foundation. I've been able to talk to some of those guys up there. They helped us out financially while we were obviously, as workers' comp doesn't pay, what you normally make. So it was tough there for a few months, but they helped out a lot. I got to talk to some of those guys and other officers. There's a sheriff's deputy down Spotsy that got shot several times, and I think the most consistent thing is that we just try to enjoy life more now.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't think it's too different than those that have attempted suicide
Mm-hmm.
and realize that this isn't actually what they want. There's a story of a guy that jumped off a bridge, the Golden Gate Bridge, and as soon as he left the handrail, he wished he could have had it back. And he survived the fall,
Yeah.
barely, but survived it. And his whole story now is he just enjoys life more.
Yeah.
You're more intentional about enjoying your life. And for me, it's the same thing. It's like I go out every day when I think I want to complain about something.
Yeah.
Perspective, right? And so it's like everything like that keeps someone that's been through a near-death experience that has made the choice to enjoy life, keeps us humble.
Yeah.
I think at times when, like I said earlier, when I want to complain, when the kids are driving me crazy, when work isn't going the way that I'm hoping it would, it's like I can't sit here and complain about this because I could be dead.
Yeah.
Or like 5 years ago, I would have given anything to be the parking officer's assistant.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
like that's how bad I wanted to work in law enforcement.
Mm-hmm.
And then I look at where I'm at now. Like, seriously. Like, I look at where I'm at now, and I'm like, oh, my gosh. Like, never in my wildest dreams would I ever thought that the chief of police would send me out to speak to a group of kids about integrity, or, the chief of police would send me out to a group of kids to read, or, this organization would invite me to come do this. And it's like daily.
Yeah. I believe it. I mean, I feel like they've branded you as like the face of the department almost,
Right.
and I think you're the perfect person.
And that's so humbling because I'm like, it just coming from where I was and knowing, what I went through, and then, prior to being a cop, it just didn't just happen overnight. It was years and years and years and years, and resilience and staying focused on what the end goal is. And now we're there. And then now I'm even thinking of different, even higher, things at goals. And it's just like unbelievable to even think that you're here. So,
Yeah,
but-
the idea of the near-death experience, I think it was Wayne Dyer that said that you should strive to die while you're alive.
yeah.
And
Yeah.
so do you think like the idea of that having that experience has changed you, made you more empathetic, made you
Yeah.
appreciate life and enjoy it? Like, do you know anyone that's successfully manufactured that feeling?
I don't personally. I don't know anyone that's really been able to
strive to. I don't know how.
Yeah, I don't know anyone that's been able to successfully manufacture it, but I do think that there are people out there that are able to walk with that same humble attitude, knowing that life is just a breath.
Yeah.
I think I think you could experience that same thing if you've got someone that's been very close to you, a mother, father figure, or brother, sister, brother that absolutely loved life, and then they're not there. So it's like you want to honor that person by loving your life as much as humanly possible. I think it's the same thing.
Yeah.
Obviously there are some differences, but I think that's probably about the closest that I've seen to it. One big inspiration for me, and I don't mind giving her a shout out, is Becky Howdy over at Chick-fil-A.
Yeah.
She's been
She's
been
a
there for
short little
yep,
blonde girl.
yep,
I've known her for ages just from being around.
Electric
She's
personality.
So nice.
The nicest. Well, her mom just passed away after a long battle with cancer, and that was her best friend. And I'm telling you, you see Becky now, she's still smiling, still loving it. And I know that she gets home and gets behind closed doors and probably cries her eyes out, and it's just like she still gets out there, still gets it done, still, and that's inspiring. It's like she's like she is living her life, because I know that that's what her mom would have wanted her to do. They were best friends. Her mom smiles every time I saw pictures of her mom. Just same thing. And it's just like, so I think that's the relationship, that the benefit of having that knowledge and relationship of death.
Mm-hmm.
Is knowing that life is so special.
Yeah.
And you just really got to get after it.
And that'll really create some perspective for the little
Absolutely.
ones. Yeah.
Absolutely. I one of the biggest things that I'm afraid of is we got a puppy when we first got married in 2013. So Winston, our golden our yellow lab, was a year and a half, 2 years old when Judah was born.
Yeah.
They're going to grow up together.
That's cool.
And Winston will likely pass away when Judah is 12, 13.
Mm-hmm.
And that's going to be so hard.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, man, you just think about just different ways death is going to affect someone. And I know it's going to hurt him when it comes, but let's enjoy it now while we got it and just really try.
This intersection at Waterloo and Shirley, when I was 6 years old, I was sitting in the passenger seat when my parents told me that our golden retriever died.
Oh, my goodness.
I remember it specifically. And I think we have a dog also that growing up with our kids, and that's going to be more than likely their first experience with
loss,
death and loss.
Yeah.
And it'd be interesting to see how we handle those things.
Yeah.
I imagine as a pastor, you've handled many things like that, many people, many different.
I'm thankful that I haven't had to do it as much as like my father-in-law or Charity's granddad. He's done hundreds of funerals,
really?
And I can't imagine, and buried friends of Charity and students of his, and I can't imagine that. But at the same time, it's like I know how precious life is, and going through this thing, taking this round of the chess is only reinforced and pushed me to cherish it all the more.
Yeah.
So
it's awesome.
Yeah.
Let's do some of these short answers.
Yeah.
So I just have a series of questions, and I'd like to hear what you think.
Yeah.
And we may tangent a little bit, but the first one is, what is on your list of things to never do as a dad? What's on your not to do list?
Oh my goodness, my not to do list is to really lose my temper. That's very hard.
Is it?
To do? Oh yes.
Yeah.
I think if you've ever had a 4 and a 2 year old by yourself, and it's just no one else is around. I mean, you do. I spank my children.
Yeah.
I don't hit them, but I certainly they get their spanks. I did too. I can tell you that there were times when I was in high school and early 20s where I completely lost my temper, and it was totally unreasonable. Mm-hmm. And I think that one thing that I never want to have happen is my kids to see that side of me.
Yeah.
And I think I've done a pretty good job with that so far. Hopefully,
do you have something that keeps you from losing your temper? Or
yeah. So anytime they get mad, like seriously, the one thing I do is I grit my teeth, I take my deep breath, and then I just have to think about how should I handle this if Charity was standing right next to me, the wife.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, perspective.
It's probably a pretty good rule.
Yep. All right, let's take a step forward. Okay. Honey, I need you to stop hitting your brother in the face with this thing that I've told you to not do 100 times, okay? Okay, good. Yeah. Go to your room, close the door.
Yep.
And so.
I can relate to that.
Yep, absolutely. It's tough. It's certainly tough because, hey, we're human.
How long you let them fight for?
Not very long.
Yeah, of course, they're the same size, but 2 and 4 is a big difference.
Not very long. Probably not nearly as long as shoot, man, I've knocked my brother unconscious.
Yeah. Yeah, you guys are probably rough and tumble. You guys are all pretty close in age.
So yeah, me and my brother Anthony were 2 years apart, and at 16 and 14, dude, we just hammered on each other. And our other brother was probably 9, 10 at the time, so I mean, he's right there behind us. So, and then we also, we grew up racing motocross, so we weren't afraid to get hurt.
Yeah.
So I knocked my brother unconscious once with a styrofoam airplane. We body slammed off of the trampoline. Holes in drywall, all that stuff. Standard brother material.
Yeah, I'm trying to figure out how long to let them go for. I usually go until one of them starts to look like they're about to cry.
Yeah.
And then, or until one of them gets hurt a little bit.
Yeah.
So what is your greatest hope for your kids?
Yeah. Definitely my greatest hope for my kids is that they live lives and have the reputation of loving others.
Yeah.
That's my greatest hope for them, because I think that's how I think there's this big misconception about legacy. For the longest time, I was a big believer in, and I think that maybe this is because of the sales background that I had, that your legacy is that you were a successful person. You had the job, you had the money, you were able to go on these lavish vacations and buy these nice homes and do all this stuff. And I think that does have a certain appeal to it even now. You want to be responsible with your finances and stuff like that. But at the end of the day, I think my greatest hope for my kids is that they create a legacy of love and hope and empowerment within their families as well, because that'll be a direct reflection of how Charity and I raised them.
Yeah.
I think that the biggest principle that I've learned is that you get your fulfillment by putting others before you.
Mm-hmm.
For me, I used to go out and I would buy motorcycles and buy all this stuff and go out and get food and hang out with my friends, and it was all very self-serving. But once I started to flip that script a little bit and really focus on others,
mm-hmm.
that's when I started to really feel the life come on.
When do you think you did that? Like, when did you transition from you to them?
Probably right around the time I met Charity.
Yeah.
I mean, it was that, and right when I got surrounded by her family, because they're very much like that. Her family is a very giving family. I do, shameless plug, Dave Ramsey Solutions. If you're a money nut, like, I love being responsible with money. Dave Ramsey talks about being responsible for your money.
Yeah.
Financial Peace University, it's a great thing. You'll learn that you'll feel more fulfilled the more you give to other people and less you give to yourself.
Mm-hmm.
That fulfilling, it's an odd concept, but when you decide to stop loving yourself so much and start loving others,
yeah.
things like the hardships that you used to dwell on and go through and just beat yourself up on, that stuff won't matter as much anymore.
Yeah.
You'll start loving other people, and then you'll see that is where you get your fulfillment from.
Mm-hmm.
That is where you're going to get your hope and your joy from, is helping other people. And that has really played a pivotal role in the reason why I do what I do with the town and with the police department. I work a ton of hours.
Yeah.
I mean, it's unbelievable.
Yeah.
How many hours I work, because I not only just do patrol,
mm-hmm.
which is a full-time gig
Yeah.
with overtime.
Yeah.
But I also do a lot of community outreach. I handle our social media pages, and I do, anytime the department needs me to. Oh, I also go down to the academies and I teach down there.
Mm-hmm.
New recruits, I do all that. But I'm telling you, that is all other people focused.
Yeah.
Right? I have my times where it's, Charity and I have to recharge each other's batteries. I get
mm-hmm.
that. But the main thing is that my standard is to go out and love other people, pour into other people, because when you see them rise, I'm telling you, it makes you rise too.
Yeah.
So that's my greatest hope for my kids, is that they learn that principle early, that they love people, they pour into people, and then they elevate everyone around them.
That's awesome.
Kind of like I've tried to do. So.
That's awesome. So how do you teach your kids to be resilient?
So it's tough, because I've got one kid that's really, really emotional
mm-hmm.
in judo.
Yeah.
And then I've got one kid that just doesn't seem to care. He's
He's
two.
two.
Yeah, he's
do?
two.
Yeah.
But with Judah, I think that an emotional resilience, because he is very emotional.
Mm-hmm.
He's very in touch with his emotions. And I think The thing that I've found that really helps me with showing him how to be resilient in things when his feelings are hurt or even physically, it's like is you gotta remember that at that age, their parts of their brains aren't even engaging. Right. So they're screaming and crying their minds out, and you're trying to reason. They don't even hear you, man.
Yeah.
They're like, so you're getting frustrated because this crying child isn't getting what you're saying, but it's like they can't even compute what's happening because their brains are developed in the frontal lobe area, right?
Yeah.
I don't know if that's the frontal lobe area is correct, but it's in your brain.
I know
you know
what
what I'm saying,
sure,
right?
Yeah.
So I think the main thing is to make sure I continue to just get intimate with him on an emotional level.
Mm-hmm.
And to let him know that I see it and I recognize what he's going through, and that, hey man, like, hey buddy, like I understand that, this happened. Or even whenever like I yell at him, he gets emotional when he gets in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And perfect example when I spank him.
Yeah.
I don't just spank him. Chaplain Wally Smith at the police department taught us this principle. It's like if your kid has done something bad and you need to spank him, you need to make that the most intimate thing that happens.
Okay.
Between you. And it's like, I was like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
He's like, so what you do is you take your kid into his room, you sit him down, you put your arm around him, you tell him you love him, and you say, hey, look, you're going to get a spanking. And the reason you're going to get this spanking is because you did this. Do you understand why that's not, you can't just swat at your brother. You can't swat at your mom. Or you can't say that to your mom.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like, I love you. So, but, go ahead and turn around, and then turn him around, and then he's screaming, no, don't do it. And then you spank him, and it hurts him, and he starts crying. And it's in that moment that it's really intimate, where you just pick him up and you hold him now.
Yeah.
And you say, look, this had to happen because you did this. This is a consequence of your action, but know that I will always love you.
Yeah.
And you just hold him, and then he will sit there and he will cry in your arms, and he will snuggle you and hug you. And he won't hate you for it.
Yeah.
Because I think that's the biggest thing is, like, you want to discipline your kids, but you don't want to do it to a point where they hate you for it, or they despise you, or they don't want you to be around. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you almost want to do it, and then they want to be comforted by you too. Yeah. And that's been huge for us. So, and I think it's helped him be more resilient as a little boy. And it's helped us as parents really know that what we're doing in our discipline is intimate, intentional, and that he's getting it. So that's been a big thing for us.
Right on.
Yeah.
So what do you think is the role of a father?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the role of a father is obviously probably the most important. I can't remember who said it, but it was like the best way you can be a role model for your kids is to love your wife.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't exactly remember where that came from. I'm sure people listening are like, oh, that's whatever it is. But I think the most important thing to do for your kids is to be a role model that they want to come to when they need help.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? I love that there was a quote I saw the other day. It's like, you want to be the kind of dad where instead of your kid saying when he's in trouble, oh crap, I gotta call my dad, to, oh man, I need to call dad.
Yeah.
The difference in tone. It's like you don't want to do it. It's like you have to let your dad know something bad happened, and then it's like you want to let your dad know because something bad happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I want to be that. That's exactly what I want to be for my kids, and it's tough. I think that's the biggest thing. That's the biggest role for me, is to be the man, the person that my kids can always come to, and do it without shame, without anger, and to be that. It's tough.
Yeah.
That's I can't tell you how hard that is, because I'm an emotional person that gets angry, and I have to control that. But that's what I want to be for them. Cool. So,
well, on a little lighter note,
yeah.
Who's your favorite television dad?
Oh, Frank Reagan.
What show is that?
Blue Bloods.
Oh, I haven't seen it.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Greatest TV show ever.
Yeah.
I mean, it is if you like cop shows, some of us cops
Sure.
don't want to have anything to do with cop shows.
Yeah.
I love this show. It's about the New York City NYPD commissioner. His whole family is involved. He's got a kid that is in the lower ranks. He's got a kid that's in a detective. unit. His daughter is the district attorney.
Oh,
so,
gosh.
it's like
Yeah.
the whole family's involved in law enforcement, right? But it's very family-oriented, the TV show. So they always close the TV show out with them having Sunday lunch together, and absolutely. So, but that's my favorite TV dad. I'm trying to think of what his name is. Tom Selleck.
Oh, cool.
Tom
Yeah,
Selleck.
sure.
Obviously, a mustache that I
mustache.
only ever wish I could grow. It would take me 25 years to do that. And I
That's
still
why he
wouldn't
never
be as,
shaves it off.
oh,
Probably,
man,
'cause it
I
took him
still wouldn't be a man. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
So, so Tom Selleck, and he carries himself with such dignity and purpose and presence, and just he's a huge dude that you could just, you just want to hug, and he loves his children, will do anything for them, allows them to make the mistakes, allows them to, learn from them as well.
Yeah.
So I would say hands down that'd be my guy right there. Yeah, for sure.
All you had to say was Tom Selleck, and I'm in.
Yeah.
All right. So, if you were writing a book about your life now as a parent, what would maybe the name of the chapter that you're in now, or a couple chapters that you've experienced?
Yeah. If I were to write a book now, I think the title would certainly be Love Others.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I've thought about that so many times over the last couple of years. It's just like I really don't think I've been able to excel as a person, financially even, in my work, until I decided to stop focusing on myself and start. I'm not saying to ignore myself.
Yeah. You're constantly trying to improve yourself.
My family is the most important thing to me, hands down.
Yeah.
I listen to audiobooks and read books for self-improvement, right? But when I really started to realize that there's more to life than just making everything about me and my family, and instead realize that, hey, live your life loving others and giving to others. It's gonna change everything. It will change everything, man. I would say that if I was to write a chapter, I'd write a whole book on just that.
Yeah.
Because I think if my kids see me doing that, we adopted a child with our church in another country. We get mail from him every other month. We send stuff back. We sponsor him every month monetarily, and we had got pictures of him at the house. And I explained to Judah, I had a great time the other week. We got a letter a couple days ago. We got a letter from Alex, and this little boy's name, Alex. And we sat on the edge of the bed, and I told Judah about him, and I was like, "This is what Mommy and Daddy do. We send stuff to him. We pay for him. Give him food, and we love him, and we've never even met him because he's we want to love people, and I hope that that's what my kids realize made Charity and I special, is that we really try to love others, and we have fun.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. We focus on our family too. We went to Disney. I bought a motorcycle a couple months ago. We have fun.
Yeah.
Certainly. But our lives don't revolve around me.
Yeah.
Our lives, if that's going to be the legacy that I create for my family, it'll be that the Campbells love people, and we love others, and we want to see everyone elevate, and we want to see people work hard and earn it.
Yeah.
But that's what we want.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, man.
And actually, a great segue to the question that Lewis House gave me. He's a podcast host for the School of Greatness, but this is his question, and it is, when do you feel the most loved?
Oh. Well, let's go. I would say, have you ever read the book, The Love Languages? 5 Love Languages?
Not in full.
Yeah. But the basic principle is that everyone's got a love language where, they receive and they give love, in different ways. Some people like words of affirmation. Some people like touch. Some people like acts of service. Some people like gifts.
Yeah.
I would say that for me, the way I feel loved, acts of service, hands down.
Yeah.
Like I could go like Charity, the way she feels loved, words of affirmation, quality time.
Yeah.
Those are her 2 big ones, right? For me, you want to make me feel loved, words of affirmation. My coworkers and my supervisor will tell you that.
Yeah.
You tell me I'm doing good at something, I'm gonna go out and get you 10 more of whatever I just did.
Yeah.
It's like fuel.
Yeah.
Like, you give me an encouraging word, I'm going to buckle down and give you all the more. Like, let's go.
Yeah.
Words of affirmation and acts of service.
Mm-hmm.
It just floors me, and it's humbling. Like when I come home and see the charity, after a long shift, spent all day cleaning stuff, putting my clothes away, making sure everything's nice and tight at the house. Like that's how I feel loved.
Yeah.
Like, I'm like, yes.
Are you good at expressing your appreciation for that?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I kind of like to be animated about stuff,
Do you?
as you can probably tell. So it's like, when people, we're so fortunate at the police department. People bring cookies and stuff in, and they love on us. And, obviously Chief Carter wants to make sure we take photos and stuff like that and show the community, like, hey, thank you guys so much for loving us. Like, we can't say thank you guys enough, right? So I'm animated about it, but it's certainly out of sincerity, because I see it. Like, we have one lady that's been bringing us, no one knows this. We got one lady that brings us a dessert, a cake, cookies once a week.
Yeah.
Has been doing it for the last 3.5 years I've been there.
Wow.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah.
And I'm telling you, every time I see it, like, I get animated. I'm like, thank you so much. This is so great. And try to be that electric personality and to really let them know, like, this is so fun and thank you. And it's just great.
Yeah.
So
I believe she probably only shows up on the days that you're there.
I will tell you, she tends to give me the desserts that I ask for when I ask for them. So I would say that's probably correct.
That's very cool.
So,
and my next question is Tim Ferriss's question, another podcast host. It's the billboard question.
Yeah.
95, every dad on the planet's driving 80 miles an hour. You've got a billboard that they have to be able to read when they drive by, and it's a piece of advice, fatherly advice.
Yeah.
What do you put on that billboard?
Be patient.
Yeah.
Be patient. Be patient.
So are you patient?
I'm not a naturally patient person.
Yeah.
I'm not. I mean, I think that's probably why I get along with Sergeant Moran so well.
Yeah.
If you've ever met him, he's a very regimented guy who's in the Marine Corps, and he likes it done absolutely right now, right? And I can tell you that if it comes to, like, schoolwork, I still get a little bit lazy about it. I'm like, oh, I don't want to do this. But if it's something that I want, right now, I want you to stop hitting your brother stinking. I wanted it to stop yesterday, right now, right? So, like, I'm not a naturally patient person. Like, let's go. Let's get this thing going. Let's get the show on the road. Let's, get this call done, whatever it is.
Yeah.
So if I know a thing or two about dads, it would be that we, when we show emotion, it's different than when mom shows emotion. Yeah. It's when I discipline Maverick, my youngest, he's 2 years old, I do it differently than I do with Judah.
Yeah.
Okay. So I can say something to Judah 100 times and he won't do it, but if I spank him, he'll do it.
Yeah.
Right? He's older. But with Maverick, he'll go to touch something or do something he won't, and I'll sit down, I'll lean real close to him, I'll get in his ear, and I'll say, Mavi, don't you do that. That's very bad. And then, like, I'll lean back, and you can just see his lips start to quiver.
Yeah.
And then you'll see his watery eyes start, and he just gets hurt. It hurts his feelings, right?
Yeah.
And so, it's just like I have to remember to treat the kids in a way that will best affect the outcome that I need. And it's going to be different for each kid. And the only way you can do that as a dad, I believe, is to be patient and to recognize what those avenues are and what those processes are and how each kid specifically communicates, and then adjust your delivery by that. And the only way you can do that is put billboards up everywhere that say, just calm down, be patient, with it. So
it's great. This will be my probably my second to last question. I almost hate to, I definitely hate to stop this conversation because I'm enjoying it so much. But what's a piece of advice that you've gotten that was one of the best pieces of parenting advice?
Oh my goodness. I have gotten so much good advice. Probably the one thing is my father-in-law said something to me, or said something, I don't even think that he probably realizes he said it and it made such an impact, but he said we just need to protect that. And what he was referring to was he is probably the nicest kid little boy. I mean, he is just, his little voice, he's so sweet. He will hug you. He hugs all his friends goodbye. He holds hands with everyone. You know, he's
awesome.
just the most adorable little guy.
Mhm.
And I remember, and he's got such an imagination. And I remember my father-in-law, Pastor Barry, he was just like, and we just need to protect that as a family. That's what we need to do. We need to protect that. Yeah. There are things going to be out there that will rip a child's, dreams away, that will, happen to where he won't be able to foster that imagination, that creative. We create an atmosphere of no, don't. And man, I think the only reason I'm able to do what I'm able to do now is because my parents didn't put those restrictions on me. They let me be that creative and really figure out how to play. I mean, they let me play drums for hours on end from first, second grade all the way up until I got out of high school.
Yeah.
Hours, dude. I mean, like, I would come home and if I didn't get 3 hours of straight drum practice in a night in high school, I felt like a failure.
Wow.
I mean, it was like, that was the one thing I was disciplined in, right?
Yeah.
And so that really stuck with me. It's like, he said we need to protect that. And that was a roundabout way of telling me that I need to do whatever I can to foster that positive outlook, that imaginative outlook, that loving outlook for my kid. Yeah. And protect them from that. That's been the biggest thing.
That's beautiful.
Yeah,
that's really beautiful.
It's awesome. And he's probably going to listen to this and be like, I don't even remember saying that. But that it made a big difference to me. And he's right, because and it's helped me in my discipline. Yeah, because it's like, I don't want him to see that ugly side of me where I lose my temper and throw stuff and just get angry and yell and stuff like that, because that's not protecting what he needs to know right now.
Yeah.
He needs to know that I'm loving and I'm a safe place that he can come and confide in. He's 4.
Yeah.
He should know this side of me until he's at, late teens.
Yeah.
And then he can start to see, some of the more hard stuff and be exposed to some of that stuff. But for right now, he needs to know me as a loving, safe place to come as a dad.
Yeah.
That, because I think that's going to carry us later. So
that's awesome,
yeah.
Chris. That's great.
Yeah.
So, unfortunately, this is my last question.
Go ahead.
All right.
Yeah.
So, first, thank you so much, man. I've enjoyed this thoroughly.
I have too. Absolutely. Thank you.
It's past my bedtime right now, but it's worth every second. So, this question is, what message would you like to pass along in the event that this recording lasts forever to your kids, their kids, their kids, and their kids?
Yeah.
Oh, I got one more question first. I can't believe I almost forgot. The gift question. I love this. So you know this question?
No.
If you could give a gift to every father on the planet, what is the gift that you would give them?
Probably a counseling session with Wally and Pat Smith.
How about that?
That's probably a marriage counseling session. By no means is my life perfect. I think that's the hard part about social media, is that if you were to look at my life like you have, oh man, he is a 32-year-old that has got his stuff together. He's got a family. I've had people come up to me, complete strangers that have found me on Facebook through links in newspaper articles or whatever, and they say, you got the cutest little family. Like, you guys, everything just looks so perfect. And it's Mayberry all over there. You go and you do your cop thing and come home and things. It's Mayberry, right? And it's like, they don't know. They don't know Charity and I were in marriage counseling for months.
Yeah.
We put so much of our initial part of being married into the church that we forgot how to love each other. Yeah. And it just wrecked our marriage. And we struggle with things. So if I could give one gift to every kid, I mean, it would be a counseling session with Pat and Wally. Yeah. From that, it would be, if you really want to do your kids a favor, it would be, if you really want to do yourself a favor, you and your wife got to figure out how to love each other. You got to figure out how to be married. You got to figure it out. Because if you guys don't have it together, it's going to trickle out into everything else.
Yeah.
And it's still, dude, it's not perfect. I keep saying that throughout this whole podcast. It's not perfect because the stuff that I am telling you that I figured out.
Yeah.
But it's a daily work on every single one of those issues. There are days where Charity and I are just 100, and I'm getting raw right now. We are just humming. Things are great. And there are days where it's just like, I can't handle it.
Yeah.
So I would say that my piece of advice would just be, if you really want your kids, if you really want to be a good dad, love your wife. And if you really, really want to be a good dad, let your kids know that you love your wife.
Yeah.
You know, we do this thing where I probably one of my favorite things to do is I fight with the kids over kisses from mama.
Nice.
Right.
Yeah.
So I'll walk in and I'll say, hey, Judah, I'm getting the kisses from mom tonight. You know, I'm getting mama's kisses. And then he'll get, no, I want mama's kisses. And then same with Maddie, they'll get all emotional. And then, you know, it's just a big loving thing.
Yeah.
So, and it's vulnerable. It's very intimate. And, you know, I dig it.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate your being authentic and genuine and open and sharing these things. I think every person that listens to this is going to learn something. I've learned a ton. I can't wait to re-listen to it and learn more, you know, when I'm not focused on what I'm going to ask you next. But so here's that last question again.
Absolutely.
The message to your kids.
Yeah. Put others first. Love God, love people, love your family. Period. Nothing else.
That's
you do that, everything else will fall in place. Love God first, love your family, then love people. Everything else will fall in place. Work comes after all those things. Finances comes after all those things. You know, if I could give one piece of advice, love God, love people, love God, love family, love people in that order. You'll be good.
Awesome.
You'll
Thanks,
be good.
brother.
Yeah, man. Thank you for having me.